So here is chapter 7, the secret to self-control. So each of us is struggling with the self-control that one we have, which actually stops us from creating the habit or taking the habit forward. So let us start with the topic. In 1971, as the Vietnam War was heading into its 16th year, Congressman Robert Still from Connecticut and Morgan Murphy from Illinois made a discovery that stunned the American people. While visiting the troops, they had learned that over 15% of US soldiers stationed there were heroin addicts. Follow-up research revealed that 35% of service members in Vietnam had tried heroin and as many as 20% were addicted. The problem was even worse than they had initially thought. The discovery led to a flurry of activity in Washington, including the creation of the Special Action Office of Drug Abuse Prevention under President Nixon to promote prevention and rehabilitation and track addicted service members when they returned home. Why addiction happened? This finding contradicted the prevailing view at that time, which considered heroin addiction to be a permanent and irreversible condition. So people can be cured. So till that time it was the conviction that any addiction cannot be cured. It is difficult, but it is not impossible. The counterintuitive idea makes even more sense once you understand what happens when a habit is formed in the brain. A habit that has been encoded in the mind is ready to be used whenever the relevant situation arises. When Patty Olwell, a therapist from Austin, Texas, started smoking, she would often light up while riding horses with a friend. Eventually, she quit smoking and avoided it for years. She had also stopped riding. Decades later, she hopped on a horse again and found herself craving a cigarette for the first time in forever. The cues were still internalized. She just hadn't been exposed to them in a long time. So it doesn't matter whether you have stopped that cue or not, right? Once a habit has been encoded, the urge to act follows whenever the environmental cues appear. This one reason behavior change techniques can backfire. Bad habits are autocatalytic. The process feeds itself. They foster the feelings they try to numb. Researchers refer to this phenomenon as cue-induced waiting. An external trigger causes a compulsive craving to repeat a bad habit. Once you notice something, you begin to want it. This process is happening all the time, often without us realizing it. Scientists have found that showing addicts a picture of cocaine for just 33 milliseconds stimulates the reward pathway in the brain and sparks desire. The speed is too fast for the brain to consciously register. The addicts couldn't even tell you what they had seen, but they craved the drug all the same. Here is the punchline. You can break a habit, but you are unlikely to forget it. Once the mental grooves of habit have been carved into your brain, they are nearly impossible to remove directly. A more reliable approach is to cut bad habits off the source. One of the most practical ways to eliminate a bad habit is to reduce exposure to the cue that causes it. The practice is an inversion of the first law of behavior change. Rather than made it obvious, you can make it invisible. I am often surprised by how effective simple changes like these can be. Remove a single cue and the entire habit often fades away. Self-control is a short-term strategy, not a long-term one. You may be able to resist temptation once or twice, but it is unlikely you can muster the willpower to override your desires every time. Instead of summoning a new dose of willpower whenever you want to do the right thing, your energy would be better spent optimizing your environment. This is the secret to self-control. Make the cues of your good habits obvious and the cues of your bad habits invisible. So the summary is, the inversion of the first law of behavior change is made it invisible. Once a habit is formed, it is unlikely to be forgotten. People with high self-control tend to spend less time in tempting situations. It is easier to avoid temptation than resist it. One of the most practical ways to eliminate a bad habit is to reduce exposure to the cue that causes it. Self-control is a short-term strategy, not a long-term. So that is all about self-control and chapter 7. Hope this has helped you in thinking about a bad habit that might be bothering you. If that is so, then of course there is a way out, how to stop it. Let us discuss about it in our future course. Thank you.